Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today, looking ahead, Sam, to free agency, because that's right. You and I helped
Wow.
compile
Way ahead.
our way ahead. People love this in November because let's face it, half your teams are out of it, right? I mean, half of your teams are out. So we're going to look forward to free agency. It's not really the case. The whole NFL is crazy and wide open, but free agency, it's a nice little time to look ahead. You and I helped put together our top 50 list. And let's just break it down. Where are the strengths and the weaknesses in this free agency class? Doesn't look great overall, but we're going to break down the top 50 and some of the big names on this list, Sam. So as we were putting this thing together, what stood out to you?
Well, I would say it's actually not a bad class at the top, but it gets thin quickly. Like there's some real jewels of this free agent class and some guys you should absolutely be going after and who will command huge money, top of the market deals, all those kinds of things. But yeah, it gets pretty thin pretty quickly. If you're in need of, those middle level guys, you want to wait until after that first wave disappears, do some bargain business. Like you got to be careful what you're doing because it gets pretty rough. I will say that I think the wide receiver group is good. And this is a trend in the NFL, right? There's just the league is swimming in wide receivers every year. A ton of guys come in from the draft who are all really good. They're everywhere in free agency. They're available for trade. Guys like Odell Beckham are getting cut midway through the season. Deshaun Jackson. Like if you have no excuse right now for having like the New Orleans Saints receiving core or the Detroit Lions receiving core. If your receiving core sucks, you're just asleep at the wheel because the league is just swimming in good wide receivers.
Yeah, and some of those names include two guys that were on the list last year, Chris Godwin and Allen Robinson, both guys franchised. Devontae Adams is number one on our entire list. So if he actually hits the market and we end up seeing Aaron Rodgers trying to work his way out of Green Bay, there could be that package deal with them going somewhere else. But you also have guys like Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton. It is a really good class. Maybe even Mike Gesicki, who lines up as a wide receiver far more than he lines up as a tight end. He makes the top 25 on our list as well. And just throwing another pass catcher in there, Dallas Goedert, the tight end from the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're looking for a pass catcher, to your point, they're out there. They're available, and certainly looks like that's the strength of this free agent class. Michael Gallup is out there as well among wide receivers. Antonio Brown, for whatever that's worth, if he's going to hit the market or, just try to stay with the Bucs. But, there's a lot of good pass catchers out there.
You've named like 10 receivers, and you didn't yet get to your guy.
And, of course, the great Tim Patrick. Look, we put him – where did we put him on the list? Is he in the 40s?
40, I think.
Yeah, it's time. Look, this was – we finalized the list before he made Trevon Diggs look stupid last Sunday. I mean, it's time to move Tim Patrick up the list, get him up into that top 25. Still have another half of the season, by the way, to move him up our list. Tim Patrick's
if you're not going to fight for your guy before he goes out there and mosses Trevon Diggs, and that's on you. You're the guy – you're the Tim Patrick stan. If you're not going to get him up into the top 10 before he goes out there and dominates the defensive player of the year, that's you.
Fair point. I'll keep fighting for him, though. I'm going to come back and fight for him. 6'5", dude can move and win at every level of the field. So Tim Patrick, pretty awesome. Definitely a good group of pass catchers. But you're right. Like as we started ranking this thing, it got to a point where it's like, 25 through 50, not completely interchangeable, but a lot harder to separate those guys.
Yeah, and as much as, wide receiver, I think is in really good shape, there are other positions that really aren't. Like, edge rusher has some interesting names, but they're all old. Chandler Jones, Von Miller, these are top-tier pass rushers over the last decade. But the last decade, like you're getting a free agent, you want a guy for the next decade or at least the next few years. I don't know how much mileage left those guys have. Von Miller in particular looks like he is slowing down. Chandler Jones is still playing at a really high level, but has had some injuries to deal with. I don't think it's a great year if you're looking for free agent help in terms of pass rush.
Jadeveon Clowney makes the list for like the 8th straight year. I mean, he's been in the 30s in our rankings previously. He's up at 15 right now, in part because he is playing a little bit better this year, but not drastically, right? It's not like he has completely changed his game. Does have more of the sack totals now. The other name to keep an eye on is Stephon Gilmore, who we currently put at 17. And in all of our discussions said, look, at the end of the season, we're going to revisit this. If he looks good, which he does early on here, if he looks good and looks like the guy that was the best corner in the NFL between 2017 and 19, he's back up into like that top 5 essentially on this free agent list when he, hits the open market.
Yeah, and there aren't a ton of options at cornerback either. So yes, if Gilmore has half a season to prove that he's still Stephon Gilmore, essentially, is what you're talking about here. Like
Yeah.
he's going to get that opportunity in Carolina. They need that player with J.C. Horn down with that injury. So Gilmore is going to get this opportunity to show that he is still the guy that a defense was built around. Like the Patriots had that entire man coverage scheme essentially built off the back of Stephon Gilmore's ability to go one-on-one with receivers and shut them down. Now he's not there. The entire defense is swinging to a zone-heavy scheme. Like he was the reason they ran so much man coverage. And it's also why when, the scheme was taken to Miami or Detroit or Houston, it never looked the same because nobody else had a Stephon Gilmore.
NFL fans hungry for a big win this week? Well, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, they got you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest, and DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So DraftKings, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I've seen some people around the league, some NFL insider types who said, the big quarterback carousel we've had these last couple of years, it's been crazy these last couple of years, the movement at quarterback. They predicted you'd see that again this year, and I'm just not sure where, because it's certainly not because of the free agent class. There's only one QB in our top 50. It's Jameis Winston. Teddy Bridgewater's out there, Marcus Mariota, Ryan Fitzpatrick. But a bunch of guys who you're not necessarily building your franchise around, except maybe a Jameis that, we'll see. But even when he was a free agent last year, he got the 1-year deal with the Saints. So are you anticipating a QB carousel this offseason?
If it's going to come, it's going to come because somebody like Aaron Rodgers sets off a set of dominoes. You know what I mean? Like Rodgers orchestrates his way out of Green Bay. Maybe Rodgers winds up in Las Vegas. Maybe Derek Carr then has to go somewhere. Derek Carr gets traded somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that sort of sequence of dominoes that start to fall where they all start moving around the league. And, of course, you still have the Deshaun Watson thing. Deshaun Watson doesn't look like he's going to be playing in Houston again. He might not be playing anywhere again, depending on how all of his legal cases get worked out. But, I mean, he's a quarterback that could completely change the NFL landscape, again, based off what happens with him. So, obviously, based off the guys that are actually scheduled to be available and, free agents are just out there on the market, no, it's not like it has been the last few years. But those are some big names that could change everything.
Yeah, it's a good point. It would have to be Russell Wilson, if he ends up, forcing the Seahawks' hand or going on Dan Patrick again, doing interviews. You never know. One other name I just want to highlight.
I'm really tired of getting hit now. I mean, look, I said right. I was tired last year, but now I'm really sick of it.
The O-line broke my finger.
I even got a broken finger. Look, right. Now it's time to take me seriously.
Told you last March. You didn't believe me.
If you don't do something about it, maybe not this year, but 2 years time, I'm gonna be mad.
The one other name I wanted to highlight here, Orlando Brown Jr. He's number 10 on our list. The Chiefs traded, essentially. Remember the trade? It was a lot of draft picks. There was a lot of stuff going on, but it was essentially Orlando Brown for a first-round pick. But we said it's for a year of Orlando Brown. So you're almost certainly going to lock him up long-term. He's playing really well. He's playing well, especially after, getting beat up a little bit by Myles Garrett in week 1. But it's just interesting that name's up there again, and the Chiefs, as much as they're struggling on offense, have a left tackle they're probably going to have to pay $18 to $20 million next year if they want to keep him around.
I kind of wonder if they're thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like, we just always assumed all the way along that this would be a deal that would have to get done based off the trade you made. Like, like the Jamal Adams thing, like the Jalen Ramsey thing, you make the trade and then you have to give them whatever the hell they want in terms of contract, because otherwise you just set fire to the draft pick.
Yeah.
And we're still in that position with the Chiefs, but I do wonder, given how the rest of that offensive line has played, i.e. very well, and how well, in particular, 2 rookies are playing, which makes it cheaper, I wonder if they would think about, you know what, maybe that wasn't a great move and we just cut our losses here. We don't pay him $20 million a year and, saddle ourselves with a good, not great left tackle making monster money. I don't know. I would say there's a greater than zero chance that Orlando Brown actually does hit the market.
That they're thinking about it, huh? Because I was of the mind that they would never do that. It would just be a bad PR move. You basically you got Orlando Brown for 1 year for a first round pick.
And it would be. I mean, it would be bad, but
that would be bad.
But the Chiefs aren't where they were, a few months ago. Right. Like, things are different. The offense is struggling. It doesn't matter that the offensive line is playing. Like, they're gonna rank number 2 on our offensive line rankings after 9 weeks. Like, they have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and the Chiefs' offense stinks right now compared to where it used to be.
And the offensive line has been good these last 3 weeks when they've scored 12 points per game. They've graded well. So Orlando Brown, another interesting name on this list. Anyway, the whole list is over at pff.com. We got our early top 50, and stay with PFF for all of your free agency goodness throughout the entire season and off season. Rough outro, Steve. Nobody's perfect here today, but it is the PFF NFL Daily.